Hi, I'm Scott Willison, owner of the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington. Today we are going to tie a really cool Chironomid pattern that I've been tying a lot of lately in fishing. This is a blue Chromie. It is tied on a size 12 Tiemco 2457 heavy wire curve shank scud hook. I've got a 3/32 inch black nickel bead. You could do either tungsten or brass. And we are going to start our thread right in front of the bead here. We're just going to put in a little gill before anything else. For my gill, I'm going to use some white uni stretch. And we're just going to tie in a piece. I like a little bit bigger gill on this thing, so I'm actually going to take my uni stretch and we'll just double it over there. And then wind down over that. And we'll just throw a couple half hitches in there to lock it into place. Then we can slide that bead up. And we'll go ahead and trim our gill material. I like to trim it about the size of the bead, so I use that as a reference point. This is a great fly to fish in deep water situations, very similar to your classic Chromie pattern, but this one has a little twist. I put a blue rib. Blue is one of the more visible colors at depth, so I like to fish this, if I'm fishing 15-20 feet deep. I've had good results with it. For our blue rib, we're going to use a holographic blue Flashabou. This is Flashabou number 6993. And I'm going to use just a single strand. We'll go ahead and tie that in on the near side of the hook. And one of the tricks to keeping my Chironomids thin, as I feel Chironomid pupa should be, is to twist your thread counterclockwise. If you're using a 70 Denier ultra thread, it'll flatten the thread out. And we are just going to wind this back part way down the bend of the hook. And then we'll go ahead and wind our thread back up. In that process, I'm going to try to build up a little bit of a taper. Keep it thin at the back. And then gradually build it up. I'm going to have one more layer of material on here though, so I don't want to build up too much thread. And then next, we're going to use Gunmetal Flashabou for the body. This is Flashabou color number 6916. And I'm going to cut 2 strands of this stuff. And we're going to tie that in right behind the bead. And then I'm going to take both strands and just very carefully, hand over hand, we'll wind this all the way back. You got to be careful with this stuff not to nick it on the hook point. It's fairly brittle. But if I'm using it for the body, I do like to go all the way back and then forward again, and that's going to give us better coverage. If you just tie it in at the back and then wind it forward, oftentimes you'll end up with these little gaps in the body that are pretty noticeable. And then we'll wrap that up to the bead. And then trim that off. Then we're going to wrap our holographic blue tinsel up forward through the fly. I usually take a couple wraps at the back, and then I'm shooting for 7 wraps to get forward. Sometimes I get 8. I don't think the fish can count, but you never know. There could be a smart one out there. And then we'll trim that off. And then I'm going to throw another half hitch. Might as well do 2 in there before we do our last little step. We're going to add a little change of color here. I've switched my thread over, or I've got another bobbin rigged up with 70 Denier Ultra thread in rusty brown. And this is a color that is very similar to the wing pads on a Chironomid. So I often like to put a little wing pad representation just by doing a little color of this rusty brown thread. I've also tied this fly with a hot spot using like orange or chartreuse thread. Give it a little extra pop. As the tire, you can do whatever you want. We'll go ahead and whip finish that. And then our last little finishing touch here is going to be to coat the whole thing with our favorite finishing material. This is Solera's bone dry formula. And we'll just make sure we get a good coating on the whole body. If you don't coat these things, they're going to come apart on the very first fish you catch, if not casting. This will make it durable enough to last through several fish. And we'll just try to use our brush to get that little bit of excess off there. And then we'll go ahead and hit that with the light to harden it. And there you have it, a blue Chromie. Great Chironomid pattern to fish on your favorite lake. Tie up a few. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.